Well, good evening, chat. So tonight, as you can see, it's finally art. We're gonna do some art. So it's been weeks of games and stuff I've been really enjoying. And I'm really excited tonight that I'm gonna be able to showcase some artwork. And I spent the week trying to figure out what art did I want to show? Did I want to show my own personal stuff, my own personal creations? Did I want to do a whole piece? You know, and I was like, oh man, I'll be here for all day because I take forever. So I ended up on deciding to showcase some fan art for characters and stuff that you guys here on Twitch and throughout who will watch this now or later might know of and have a little bit more recognition with. Plus, this is my first time ever streaming art on Twitch. And it's been a long time since I've been able to do this. My laptop wasn't capable of streaming and running Photoshop at the same time, so there was always this lag. It used to drive me crazy when I was posting on my career page on Facebook, so I had to wait for years to get to this point. And if you caught my last streams, I kept mentioning about how the computer I have right now, the video card only has one port that's working, and I've had to go back to using my old Wacom Inturos 3 tablet. Old Faithful here that I've used for years. It's like over a decade old. But it doesn't render everything across the screen. It likes to go like here, and then if I try to click up top, it's like, nope, I ain't having it. So, you know, this thing's been loved and used for years. That's another reason why I had upgraded. But it still works. It's a straight USB, so that's what I'm going to be using for a while until I can get all this other stuff settled. But I'm excited about the fact that I get to show you art tonight, because that's part of what I do. It's who I am. I am an artist. I am a writer. I've been writing stuff for years. I have audio narrations for my own personal universe that from a collaboration of a good friend of mine who's no longer with us, unfortunately, and some other cohorts that we have compiled for years of creating this huge, like, all-encompassing universe. But occasionally, too, as I've been told over the years, is that your art's pretty good, but you don't have any established characters. So I want to see this character or the Batman or Superman or whatever just to see what you can do. When I used to take my portfolio to conventions and meet other artists and was like, oh, they really like my work. It's so great, you know, because I respected a lot of them. But tonight, I thought, well, it's going to take me a while to draw maybe one thing and stuff. So, and since this is the first time I've ever been on Twitch showcasing my art, I didn't even know what category to put it in. I was looking around, and it was like drawing, and it's like, dude, is this someone's personal drawing thing? Because it had like some followers here, and then I went to art, and I'm like, I have no idea which one. How about I just choose no category for now until I figure it out? And the music, right before I forget, because I do ramble a bit when I'm working. Well, let's be honest, I ramble anyway. But it makes great because I can just keep talking. The music you're hearing in the background is from Kevin MacLeod from Incompetent.com. It's royalty free. I'm mentioning it because he does like to get credit for his music and stuff. I will be putting it in the description afterwards the stream is over with. So you guys can click on that, and I got all my legal mumbo jumbo taken care of. I've been using a lot of his music for years. I know there's other things out there like Streamlabs, well, not Streamlabs. I can't remember the music services. But I know there's other ones. I've seen them, and I just haven't had the time to go and look into that to see what other music I would have available. Because I knew eventually, after a while, people would get tired of hearing the same thing. But tonight, it's going to work. Okay, so I have a few pieces that I have brought up in Photoshop, and I also noticed that OBS, it's something I know I'm doing wrong, doesn't showcase all the other screens when I'm in Photoshop. So if I click on something over here, like a brush or something, you guys are not seeing what that is. So I'm not exactly certain how to resolve that just yet. But if anything, I'll try to remember to explain what button I'm pushing if I'm working or whatever. And let you guys know if it's something that you want to know, like what kind of brushes do I use, you know, what techniques, yada, 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 yada. You know how that goes if you guys do this. If you don't, maybe there's something cool to learn. Okay, so enough rambling. Let's do some art. Alright, so this is study pieces that I was doing before I went down, before I got super sick, and I ended up, let's say, having to find, my life went kind of a turmoil for a while, and now I'm just getting reestablished again, and settled, and finally in a place to live. So that's another reason why I haven't got as much done this past year that I've been wanting to. But so that's why I'm excited about being back, excited about trying new avenues. But what I was doing was trying to do as many character studies as I could and showcase different art styles. I went to school for animation a long time ago, and one of the things I learned, you know, I'm a huge fan of comics, still love comics, still want to do comics. But I also noticed that animators had the ability to draw just about anything. They didn't just have one unique style. They could draw multiple things, multiple styles. And so we were forced to do that. So occasionally, even though my style of work is still pretty, hey, this is me, and as I've been told, it looks like a coloring book. And as I mentioned in my stream last Sunday on Facebook, going over thumbnails and how I create thumbnails and the process that goes through my mind, I talked about that. When I first heard that, I was really insulted. I was like, oh, you're telling me I'm a lowbrow coloring artist, you know? And I'm like, well, first off, that was not the right thing to say, because there's art in that too, and I know better. But the main thing is, I thought they were saying my work was low par. What I didn't understand was someone could take my work, color over it, and enjoy it, and be a part of that process, which means I did my job. So there you go. So, like I said, even us crazy artists, we get these crazy ideas in our head with our perfectionism, and I am no different. It does take me a while sometimes to get things done. As you guys can see through here, I put a lot of little detail in a lot of my work. I over detail. And I've always been, like I said in my last stream too, on Facebook, about less is more. You know, I had a teacher, Scott Leach, used to say that all the time, and I'm still trying to learn that lesson. But this first character here is Fam, if you guys don't know, from the anime OVA Rune Explorers. I absolutely love Fam. She was great, and I had to draw her. And I wanted to stay true to a lot of the anime kind of look that she had. She was actually, this drawing originally was the very first stream I tried on my laptop a few years ago to showcase my art in real time, and it didn't go too well. It kept crashing. And so I had to go back later and everything. This, of course, is Krillin. I love Krillin. I love the Dragon Ball series. It's a very interesting style. When I was trying to mimic Krillin's head here, I noticed that it was like kind of misshapen, and it doesn't follow like your traditional basic model, so it really threw me off when I was doing it. I was like, oh, okay. And of course I put my own touch on the power thing here. This is from Macross Plus. This is one of my other favorite characters. I love the line when he came out, you know, even I can't bring back the dead, you know. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Macross Plus. It's odd to some degree, but God, the music is gorgeous. It's just gorgeous looking. And that was one of the things I always loved about anime in general, is that the art that went into it alone, the design is just gorgeous. And all the little details, like with the little sashes and all this stuff, that's a lot of work to draw. So I wanted to see if I can mimic that, how close I could get to that character at that moment, the scene that I chose. And I think it came out pretty well. Not too bad. Lupin the Third is another one of my favorite characters, and now this is more of my take on Lupin because it doesn't follow the anime per se, the original anime, or any of the other ones. So, and I don't know how close I came to it. Sometimes some people can recognize it, some people can't. Maybe if I took the time to color it and stuff and whatnot, it may come out a little different, you know. I don't know, but it was just what I had felt. Now, of course, there's good old Mario. And originally, I actually did 2 videos on my YouTube channel talking about how I laid out my drawing, how I laid out the inks, how I did the flat coloring and all that, and then the cell shading. And these little empty spots are for future ones that I will put all this together to showcase on my social medias, to let people know, you know, hey, this is what I can draw, this is what I can do, to show that I'm capable of doing other things. But we're going to go ahead and close this one out because I got a few of them I want to go into before I start drawing here and showing you guys, because I want to show you guys some of my work, because I don't often get the chance to talk about it. So, and since it's all new anyway, so this is what I'm going to be going back to in a minute. I got a lot of pieces up here right now. All right, so let me show you. So this is a sketch, and I took the time to put everything in different colors here so they would be a little bit more identifiable of what it is, because with sketches lines, the artist and maybe another artist can see it, but it's going to change. You know, it's like your own layout, your own landmarks, placeholders for things. So this is Spidey and Gwen Spidey. Mary Jane's going to go down here. That's what that character is going to represent. I'm not sure how I feel about her eyes and her chin and stuff right now. You know, I might go back and do it because you can see where I was like thinning it out, then I like widened her face a little bit, and I'm like, I don't know about that. And of course you got American Dream. That's a character probably no one knows. And I decided, instead of making her the traditional American Dream, is like a female Captain America. It's a very old one from late 90s, early 2000s. I can't remember the time frame, so if anyone knows, let me know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I decided to make her an African American woman, and that's why she has like the dreadlocks and stuff right here. Because I was like, well, you know what? I like diversity. I want to be different, and this is fan art, and I can do what I want. So that's why I was going to put her there. And this is supposed to be like New York is burning in the background here. And my tablet messed up real fast. This is supposed to be like reference of buildings and stuff. So this is a piece I am working on. It was one of the last ones I was doing before I got everything. So I have a lot of plans on getting that out, and I probably will be showcasing that here, hopefully, or I will make it into a video or whatever. But I just wanted to show you like my thought process, how I lay out a composition. Of course, this is more of a cover or a poster or whatnot, kind of in that vein. It's kind of what I go for. I love doing compositions and single pieces, and I love character design. That's what I enjoy doing. That's what I have done for years for my own, and I will spend days and days and days drawing faces and armors and uniforms and whatever. I have piles and piles of my own personal stuff or assets, and at some point during this year I will definitely be showing that. We'll be showing a lot about my own universe and stuff, but like I said, tonight let's just keep it with the fan art for right now. Alright, so this is another piece. Yes, I would like to save it. I don't know what I did. I must have did something and forgot. Oh, we're going back to that again. Okay, so we'll start with this one. This is a final version of the character Rage from a comic book series called The Uniques, which is done by one of my personal favorite artists duo, Adam and Comfort Love, Adam Withers. You guys may or may have not heard of them. They're in the indie scene. They do some amazing work. A few years ago, they gave me the opportunity to learn how to do flats, and I did some work for them, and they were kind enough to put my name, there's a book back here that hangs on my wall, in their book, even though I didn't do that much, but it was essentially like my first published. I was so proud. I was like, look at my name's in a book. You know, I was so excited because I had never gotten that before. I never had something you could tangibly hold in your hands, and that's been the goal for years, to get to the point where I can sell my art online, on prints, do work for people, take commissions, because I've done commissions, I've done this kind of stuff. I have tons of commission work that I've done that I'm still doing, and I do commission work with art, I do commission work in graphics, commission work with video. I take, and ironically enough, with video, I also take people's photographs and repaint them and stuff, and touch them up and kind of do a digital restoration stuff. And I've done that for years too. So there's a lot of different avenues I've done to make a living doing art. Maybe some things I didn't always want to do, but you do what you got to do. Plus, everything you do teaches you something new. So anyway, this character I thought was very unique. She wasn't the most pretty character too, so that's another reason why I chose her. I really enjoyed how this is kind of a Alphonse Mucha, and if I'm butchering his name, I'm terrible with names. I have a slight speech impediment. And but he is one of my absolutely favorite artists, and I wanted to do something in the vein of that. And as you can see, I do cell shading. It's the coloring level that I'm comfortable with. It's where I'm at. I have been trying to do more painting, digital painting over the years, but this was my goal as a kid. When I would sit there and play Super Nintendo games or Sega Genesis, all the 16-bit or 32-bit stuff, I wanted my stuff to look like an animated cell. And in some ways I've accomplished that, and in other ways I still got a long way to go. But I always thought this came out pretty decently. The little graphic behind was one they used to use for her psychic abilities. It's been a minute, but I think it was okay. But let's see, let's go to the next one. Let's see which one is going to give it to us this time. Oh, we're going to go back to that. Okay, I love going back to the same one, don't you? Alright, here's what I wanted to show you too. This is Misty from Pokemon. It's a little older version of Misty. I looked at a lot of cosplayers and was looking at how they were portraying Misty, how they put it together, and at first I was doing like Misty as we had from the show. I'm like, but that's not much of a challenge for me. So how about I try something a little bit more? How about I push it just a little bit much? You know, see how far I can take myself. You know, so I did add the little character that she always carries, and God knows the fandomness in my brain just left, so I cannot remember this character's name. Oh, it drives me crazy. Don't it drive you crazy when that happens? Like, it's on the tip of your tongue, and you're like, I know this, and I feel stupid because I can't tell anybody. But anyway, so I thought this came out okay. I like the facial expression that she has. And as you see again, there's so many lines in her hair that I did. And I overdid it. I actually had to go back and erase some of this out because, again, I'm doing way too much. I don't always let the color dictate. I want to draw every single line in there because that is one of my artistic issues. I draw, I see the outline in things. I see the contour. I had an art teacher tell me one time that I kind of draw like the Egyptians back in the day, where I draw the style or the symbol. It's a symbol of what I see. Sometimes I don't actually see that, or I see things that are there, like the elbow here, this little bump and all that, but it's making it too pronounced. It makes it you can over detail stuff. You know, I mean, this right here with her cloth, all right, this is probably still a little much, you know, but it maybe not be necessary and stuff. And even again, I had to erase some of this stuff out because I just get lost in those lines. And that's one of the reasons where originally as an artist, I wanted to do everything in color. Now I love to do everything in ink and black and white. I don't know why. I just seem to have gotten to the point where I just prefer black and white. And I absolutely love it. So let me show you what this looks like colored though. We'll turn the color layers on. So that is when I got done. This is the flats with the tones and some shading and stuff on here and mixed it up. And I was like, this is pretty cool. This line on the Pokeball may be too big heavy. Maybe I need to thin that out a little bit, even though I was trying to emphasize her arm in some places where it's more in the foreground and it's closer up than it is in the back, if that makes sense. So just trying to pop that out a little bit more. I may need to go back and readjust that now that I'm looking at it again. And that's what happens when you go back. Okay, so then I was like, well, I didn't just want to see what I could do with the white background. So I made a gradient and popped this in here. Because I had saw this little thing where Pikachu, now of course I remember Pikachu's name, Pikachu was in the front of this kind of like really psychedelic multicolor thing in the back. And I'm like, oh, that might work as a background. That actually might be pretty cool, actually. So I messed around with it, did some circles, kind of made these little what I call bubbles over here, and just kind of put it together. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I think it kind of goes with the motif. Maybe it will, you know, it's a little different, it, you know, versus just having, you know, white. So, but I think it works both ways, you know. But again, yeah, this Wacom does not want to go up top. No, I don't want to say that. Yes, we're back to that again. Okay, so this is, I don't know, you guys probably recognize Mighty Mouse. It's my version of Mighty Mouse. I created actually took the time to create the font for his logo here and the way that I would want to do it. I put him on this little alien world and everything. Why? I don't know. Just felt like it. I just wanted to be something. And instead of the happy-go-lucky Mighty Mouse that you normally get, I wanted to give him the, you know, the heat vision. Like, since he is since a parody of Superman to a degree, I just wanted to, I don't know. I just felt like, yeah, he's just like, yeah, bring it, you know. There's still some things about this arm here that kind of bothers me. Some of it is, I question a lot of things. You know, it kind of happens too, like when you get the 3-finger thing, kind of like the Ninja Turtles, where you have the 2 fingers and the thumb. You know, it's a lot of cartoon characters too have like the 3 fingers because, as I was always told, as I always read, it's easier to draw 3 fingers than 5. And to do it quickly. But when you go back from drawing 5 fingers to 3, and they're kind of sausage hands, as I like to say, it kind of throws me off. So I look at it and I'm like, is that right? It's kind of like drawing Sonic. Sonic throws me off sometimes too, with the anamorphic kind of weirdness that he is, or characters like that. It's very different. And I've done Sonic as well. I have a huge collage of Sonic that I need to take the time to finish and redo. But some of this stuff, I start just like that Gears of War you keep seeing pop up. I'll start it and I go, I'm just not feeling this. I don't know why. I'm just not feeling it. It's just not there. Something is missing, and then I just put it up. And that's one of the great things I love about digital, is that sometimes you don't need to show everything. You don't need to show all your work. And sometimes it's nice to see, you know, you learn something even from an incomplete drawing, even from something that you don't intend to sell, to showcase. every little drawing you do is a step towards improving your overall skill set. And it's taken me a long time to realize that. So, but again, this is my Mighty Mouse. I think he's cool. I don't know why I was supposed to be saving there, so we're going to say no. All right. Now, this piece is Ambrose from Wizard 101 game series. I originally did this for my son because he was a huge Wizard 101 fan. We both are. Puma, who I play games with, is a big Wizard 101 fan. That's how we met years ago. Wizard 101 is one of my favorite games. I absolutely love the quirkiness in it, the cornet. I mean, it's just, I love it. I can't always afford to take the time to play it because I get lost in it just like in MMOs, but it is one of my favorite games. So I was trying, when I did the character here, to stay true to because he has a really big head and he has like a little tiny body, and then he widens out and he's got these really big hands. And I was like, okay, so I gotta make this really big head, and that threw me off. And it's like this really weird cartoony vibe. And then of course he's got his little owl friend with him, and Gamma. I remember that one. Gamma, and I wanted, because you have a pet that comes with you now in that game, and I was like, well, he's got to have a pet. His pet is Gamma, his friend, who travels on with him and through the school because he's the headmaster of Ravenwood. But this is the spiral that you're seeing in the background, which is the circles, the red and blue circles are representing the different worlds. I guess I could have probably taken the time to draw in the little worlds and stuff, but during the whole month that it took me to draw this piece at the time, I was so exhausted with it. I was like, I'm done. I'm just done. Because you can see I drew in all this little detail here on his staff. All of this little spiral stuff, the stars, the star field. And if you look really closely, the star field that I use in a lot of my videos and my advertisements and stuff for my channel is right there. This is where it was first used. And I have reused that monster for years. So it's like, again, stuff that you create for pieces or assets like you would do, and like if you're doing something for 3D. You take the assets that you make and you reuse them over and over and over and over if you can, because it does save you time. It saves you time to get things done. Also, too, I don't feel bad about reusing an asset that I created. Not necessarily using someone else's stuff. I'm not really big on that. I don't really like to, if I can avoid it. But when it comes to art, definitely not. I do my own stuff. I will sit here and take the time to draw it instead of using someone else's. It's just, I'm crazy like that. I know there's artists out there that will use whatever and not care. It's just, especially, I have worked with other people who, hey, my boss wants this done. The publisher wants this done. Such and such one. I don't care how you do it, just get it done. And sometimes you make those decisions. That's why you have the whole rotoscoping in animation, or you see in some anime where they have literally traced over a realistic background, a photograph or whatever, is to save time, to get the job done. Is it the right way to do it? Is it a purist way, artist puristness? No, it's not. I don't think so if you're a purist artist, but if you're trying to get work done, that's a whole different story. Whether you agree with it or not, that's up to you, but it is a thing. So, but for me, using a star field that I created, which was like this wide, it's bigger than this picture, that I reused over and over, I'm like, and no one's hardly ever noticed. you know, no one's really paid attention that it's been reused. But of course, I added to it. I made these stars right here, these little effects. I added more stars here, all this painting and stuff. And this is one of the few attempts I did at painting, which turned out okay for the little spiral diamond thing here. And of course, all the schools, all these were done by hand. I went through each and every one of the school symbols and actually took the time to draw them out, ink them, and emboss them and all that for this, excuse me, and put this whole thing together. So this piece took a lot of time. It did, and I look forward to doing a lot more. I wanted to work at King's Isle. I was even trying, because they actually showcased this piece on their website, and I was like, oh, that's really cool, you know. I'm like, well, maybe I can get some work. Maybe I can, hey, I'll do more of these. Are you guys interested in that? And they're like, no, probably because they have contracts and they already have other artists. But I was like, man, I really want a job. I really wanted that job. So anyway, let's go to the next one here. Okay, Storybots. All right, so the only store that I have right now where I can sell some things, like I can't sell any of that stuff because they won't allow me, unless was through Redbubble, and they also own TeePublic. Redbubble had a thing for a while where they were doing fan art, which would allow you to do a piece from a certain fandom. That they had a deal with some partnerships, like with Star Trek, Netflix, had Stranger Things, and one of the things they had was Storybots. And I had come across this from my nephew one day, watching this with him, and I'm like, this show is hilarious. I love it. I was like, this is a great show. So when Redbubble had a thing for it that you could, hey, if you draw something and we accept it, we'll let you sell it on your site, on your store. I was like, oh yeah, let's do this. You know, so I did the whole Storybot thing. So I watched all the episodes, trying to figure out like how the characters' relationships work. You know, I was letting it play in the background as I'm designing and laying out this massive composition here. And you know, I could have just sat with just the characters and not done any of this, but this is who I am. You know, I wanted all this detail. I wanted the two characters in the background. I wanted the cranky boss. I wanted you to see, let me zoom in here. Hopefully you can see it past the webcam, where literally the cup says boss, like it does in the show. All this little details and stuff I put in, you know, that was from the actual show. And luckily enough, they accepted it and they really liked it. The font actually to prepare for transport, hand done. Storybots, that was something I actually got from them, but they had it one color, and I decided, because this is probably going to be sold to kids, of course, and parents buying stuff for their kids, I decided to make it more like a multicolor thing, like old Fisher Price stuff and everything, where it would stand out on a shirt or a merch or something. Unfortunately, recently they have lost the license, and this was my biggest seller I had on Redbubble, and it's gone. So I can't even sell it there anymore, which was very heartbreaking, because I was like, oh my god, because they sent me an email saying you've violated copyright. I'm like, what are you talking about, violate copyright? I never put anything up here that I can't. And then they sent me an email explaining that they had lost the partnership and everything. I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, you know, but that's them the ropes. Them are the ropes, that's for sure. All right, so I got one more before we get into this one that wants to keep popping up. Okay, this is Mickey Mouse. Originally, this piece I was commissioned for, and by a single individual, and I have taken the time, and God bless, you're talking about, again, some of these cartoon characters are very deceptive on when you go to draw them, you know. So I was like, yeah, I could do Mickey Mouse. I could do him easy. Well, it wasn't as easy as I thought at first. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure out his head, and also knowing that his ears are never really where they would be on a model. They're always turned, and no matter where he's facing. That's one of the little gimmicks that they came up with, tricks they came up with the when he was being animated, and to make that work. So I had to figure all this part out with him. His hands, his fingers, and this was supposed to be like a Valentine's thing for his granddaughter. And eventually the guy did not buy it. They wanted more money. They wanted to pay less money than what we agreed upon. And so it ended up back in my hands. And I'm like, so he had a different background. That choices at the time, and I had showed that, and I hated it. So I went back and changed it, put some color on it, simplified it out a little bit, just to showcase, like, to potential clients, to potential employers, what I can do, you know, and what kind of works. Like, yes, I can draw your characters. Yes, I could do them for a coloring book. Yes, I could do them for a poster. I can do it for a cover. Whatever you want, just give it to me. You know, that doesn't always work out either. I can't tell you how many comic book conventions I've been to where I've gone and met artists, and they've looked at my portfolio and stuff, and they go, wow, man, you know, this stuff is amazing. Why don't you have a job? I don't know. Would you tell me? Because I'd love to have one. But that's the way it goes. You know, I'm also talking to the wrong people. I'm talking to artists. I should have been talking to the editors. I should have been talking to the producers, people that can give you, that have the money to give you the job. But, you know, you don't always get to meet them. But it is wonderful meeting artists. I love meeting other artists. I love especially meeting unsung artists, because I know what it's like myself to be unsung and trying to put your work out there, and to see that of images and memes and 5-minute videos of nothingness and crazy memes and all this other crap that you get lost in. And you're just hoping that one day that someone will come across your work and find love in what you do, and give you that opportunity, or give you the chance to build an opportunity for yourself. Or, like I know with some people, it's simply just doing it because of the love of it, the absolute love that you have for just creating. You know, I have friends and people I know who do art on crafts or whatever, different things, because there's different types of art, music, whatever, and they do it as a hobby. And that's fine. If you enjoy what you're doing and you get joy out of that, then it doesn't matter if you're not doing it at a professional level or not, because that's not your goal. Your goal is to feel that creative need. And no matter, like, even me, even if I'm working professionally, or I'm working for a client, or I'm doing something for myself, it's still trying to fulfill that desire, that creativeness, the thing that you want to do. And that's simply just to create art, to inspire, to touch people, to make them angry, to make them think, to make them feel anything that you're trying to convey. And that's the beauty about art. It really is, because it can be used in so many different levels. I personally, as you guys probably see on my banner, I try to be positive. This is all for me to try to do as much good as I can in my life. That doesn't mean I don't draw dark things. It doesn't mean that I just draw happy-go-lucky flowery trees or whatever. I mean, I'm all over the place. I'm an artist. Why wouldn't I be? And I like drawing monsters and stuff too. And here, coming up in October, since it's going to be Halloween, which is my absolutely favorite holiday, I'm going to be playing some dark games. We're going to play some horror games, and then I'm also going to be drawing some monsters and stuff and showcasing them here for you guys to see and everything, because, you know, it's Halloween. You gotta, right? All right. So, enough of all this rambling and me, you know, self-promoting myself. Shamelessly self-promoting myself. All right, I'm going to break this one down here. And then we're going to try to do some art to this thing. Try to add something. So, okay. So what you're seeing right now, this Gears of War, of course, is a placeholder. This is a very low DPI logo of it. I probably found somewhere online. Again, I said this piece and I have had man, we've had a tug of war. Maybe that's why she keeps popping back up. She's just like, are you gonna fish me yet? Are you gonna fish me yet? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if I want to. I originally started this piece. Let me see if the original lines, I don't even know if the original lines are even in there. Let me show you how old this thing is. So years ago on Deviant, when I used to run Deviant all the time, I actually, ooh, that's a groove. Okay. So most of it's there. It's been erased out and stuff. So there was a contest for Gears of War 3 that me and my cohort Kojima powered. You can find him on YouTube. He does mostly 3D modeling. Freaking amazing artist. He's so much better than me. And he actually got third place in this contest for Gears of War on there. It was wild. And he was encouraging me because I have a lot of low confidence in my art. I'm one of those artists that just doesn't believe sometimes in what they do. I mean, I'm not the greatest, but sometimes I don't give myself enough credit. But anyway, so I had drew this whole fantastic piece and I was going to ink it and everything. And I decided, no, I don't know. I just stopped. I just I know I'm not good enough, and I just talked myself out of it. And so this has been my bane with this thing for a while. So I went back and I tried to fix its hair because I didn't like her face. I've still got to work on her face because this face is still a little bit better than the one I got there. And I realized too, drawing over it, that this is all wrong. And my cohort too also took the time to kind of point out things, trace over it, say, hey, you know, this is wrong. Your angle is wrong here. This is okay, you know. And so I went back and forth with it for the longest time. And then I erased all this out, trying to get all this, because like I said, the detail on the gun was pretty cool. But I even had it at one time where it was close to being colored. This is all the color swatches for all the stuff here, and it was going to be a lot of different colors that I actually sampled from to the closest enough as I could from the Gears of War 3 artwork that was out on their uniforms and stuff. And of course, like I said, we got the burning city in the background, you know, where I kind of just splashed some color on it to try to get an idea of what that would be. And of course, there it is. There's the flats. Let's see if I can bring that back up. Ooh, yes, we got all this stuff on here. So, for the most part, I don't know how I feel about that. Take the sketch out. Yeah. So for the most part, like I said, you can see where I had colored it, and I've gone back since then, here and there, when I've come back to this piece and just kind of tried to redo it. Wasn't happy about the legs. So you can see some of the flats are there. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about flats is like your initial, just your basic color on the ground. Before you add any shading or highlights or tones or stuff, you just have, this is the color before you take it to the next level, which sometimes is easier, to tell you the truth, just putting flats down. But I just wasn't happy with it, and I'm still weird about this one. Let's turn the flats off for a second. So again, this was kind of the redo of the face. Not really happy about the hair. It doesn't seem natural to me. It does and it doesn't. So the face is okay. I had colored that in so I could see it a little bit better. I think that's, yeah, I had left that. So trying to clean all that up. The most proud of this that I am of is this gun. I mean, I absolutely love the detail I did with the gun. And that's how I got started. Like, because I was like, oh man, look at all these little details in this gun I got to draw and do all this. But you can see there's like little ink blotches right here that needs to be erased out. Yeah, it looks like when I've been redoing it, it's all got dirted up and stuff. But yeah, I just like, I love the little handgun. I was like, yeah, this thing's cool. And when I got to all the armor pieces and all the utilities and salvageables and everything, I was like, yeah. And then, no. And another thing too, talking about using assets. Let me show you a little something. So you might barely see it, but you see where I drew through, as we will say, draw through the figure. So that was actually not there. I drew the whole belt, and it actually would get covered up, but I left it as a guide in case. You can see, you might see some of this later. I'm pointing to that like you can see. You might see some of this up here, but the shirt and everything might be covering it up, but I left it just in case, you know. But again, it's templates, so let's sketch it. See, like I said, yeah, some of that's going to cover, try and get that little kind of t-shirt right. Then I realized too that her leg seemed to be not wide enough here, so I was sketching, and this is coming back every once in a while and messing around with this piece and trying to figure out, like, well, how do I fix it? And every time I see more mistakes, because that's what happens as you grow as an artist and you learn more and you gain more knowledge, you realize that you screw up a lot more than you realize, or you're not as good as hiding it as you were, because every artist screws up, they just hide it very well. So, but yeah, that's one of the things about this that I was like, I really don't know. But yeah, it looks like I've done this, like her eyes and everything. Like I said, even looking at this thing drives me crazy. I don't know what it is about this piece. It just drives me crazy. Alright, so even though it's gonna drive me crazy, we're gonna go into this a little bit and see if we can clean and get some of this done. Just some of it. I mean, of course, I'm not going to be able to get it all done within the short period of time that I have, but I did just want to show a little bit of what I'm doing, and I'm planning on doing more of these on Wednesday nights, so hopefully I'll have some other things, but we're going to give this a shot. We're going to see how this rolls. Let me move. I got too many things in front of me here. Let's see. Oh, what do we want to start? It's like, oh, I already screwed up. Control Z is your friend. Yeah, it looks like I was just kind of sketching that out. Like I said, that's how long it's been since I've looked at this thing. I'm like, what was I doing? It's like the nose is like sharper angled. I was trying to add, you can see all kinds of mistakes here. Wow. Alright, well, let's go. Let's see. We're going to create. Oh, we don't want to be on gun inks. And these layers, you can also say I usually put all my layers in folders instead of doing it this way. But I haven't organized this one yet. Because again, it's one of those like, I don't want to do it. I don't want it. Okay. So that looks like the pencil lines there. And I know I've redrawn this thing, I don't know how many times. It's funny how you get pieces like that sometimes, right? How you get stuff that just drives you crazy. So let's see. Ah, we are on that. Alright. So first off, let's clean that up. I may have to redo. You know what? I got a better idea, chat. Let's just knock down the opacity. How about that? And we'll just make a new line. Since I had stopped in the middle of this, might as well try something different. Ah, it's gonna drive me crazy. I'm so used to my XP now tablet that doing it, looking at the screen, because I don't know if you guys, if you do this digitally yourself, then you guys know what I'm talking about, probably. But one of the issues I had is for the longest time is that I was stuck with this Enturos tablet, and you have to teach yourself to look at the screen, which is a television now, because I don't have it on a small monitor, and which is also throwing me off. But I have to look at the screen when I draw. Where when I finally got my drawing tablet, per se, my XP, I was actually looking at this at the tablet like I'm drawing what I do with a piece of paper. Because that's still how I do a lot of things. I've only been really transitioning to digital a lot more recently to force myself to do it when I draw. Because I used to just do everything by hand, and then I would scan it, and then I would ink it, and then I would color it. But I also couldn't rotate, like, you know, in Photoshop you can hit R and rotate the camera. I couldn't do that on my laptop. It would crash. every single time, or it would lag out. And so I had to learn to ink in one position. Another thing that drove me crazy. So it's just fascinating to me that I can actually rotate the piece. But yeah, I think I'm gonna use this as a template. Kind of go over, I think this tin brush, the size, and what I'm using is actually a set of it's called Colorful Gel. Let me make sure I got the right name, since I'm taking the time to say it. Okay, this is RM ink pens. It's RM digital ink. It's a set of pens I bought from a website that was the closest to ink pens that I could or ink brushes too that I ever found, and still, and I really love them. And now I know a lot of people too is like, well, you can make your own brushes, you can just design, and I have artist buddies that do that. I suck at that. I just never seem to make them the way I want. And I have a set of pencil brushes too that I finally found that I absolutely love, and that I was using for the longest time. That lane's about right. Okay. And again, it's just personal preference. It's like everything else. When you do this stuff, it's a tool. Yeah, you guys are gonna see my nitpickiness here. You know, all the brushes, it doesn't matter what brushes, even if you do this stuff with traditional inks, markers, ink brushes, watercolors, Prismacolors, it doesn't matter what you use. What matters is what tools you enjoy doing with. You know, so there is no, to me, correct or incorrect way of drawing with a certain tool. You know, like I said, I still prefer to draw with a pencil. That's the way I started, and that's what I'm most comfortable with. And I just really screwed up her nose again. Ah! Why can't I get my hands to work? Alright, there we go. Let's see. So we got this one lighter. This line's in the wrong place. It looks like I was right there. Ooh, that's really small. Yeah, and this is what I normally do too. I usually get some tunes. Usually it's probably more, I listen to Kevin's stuff. I listen to all kinds of music, mostly stuff from like electronica, video games, because I love video game soundtracks, especially the old ones. Some very beautiful music. I find it ironic that after all these years, finally, that when I was a kid, video game music wasn't accepted as real art, and now it's all over the place, you know. So everything comes in due time. I'm gonna give her a little bit of an eyelash there, not too much, because she doesn't seem the type that would have like really thick eyebrows or trying to be dainty, you know, or a model. You know, this is a soldier, you know. And no, I don't remember what the original character looked like. At this stage, I'm just happy to be doing anything with this character. With this piece. I think she was blonde or something, or I don't remember. I've slept since then. So, let's see. Ooh. You know, it's funny too. I've been doing all this gaming stuff lately too, and I was I've been more nervous about showing my artwork and showing you guys this stuff, ironically, than I was the gaming. It's been like trying to figure out like, oh god, they're gonna say that I'm freaking garbage. What am I gonna do? You know, I kind of like that, but that didn't work out exactly the way I wanted it to be. But this is real. I mean, and there are people who can do this stuff so much faster than me, and they can get worked up. Whoa, what happened there? Oh, whoa, we had a glitch. That's a big glitch. Wow, why in the world? Why are you acting this way? You're doing this on purpose. You really are. Let's see if we can fix that without having to erase it. Wow, that was a big glitch. Weird. It did not like that one bit. Not one bit. Why? Why do you hate me so? But I also like listen to like one of my favorite soundtracks is from Halo, the original Halo. Oh my god, I love that music. That stuff is just so epic. It's just beautifully done, and the composer is an amazing artist. I don't understand what you're saying there. I've never even seen that warning before. It said something about Compton. I don't know, GPU. Who knows? This computer sometimes, the way it's been lately. Maybe my video card is being like, I don't want to show nothing. I don't want it. Okay. Alright. So that's coming out okay. And yes, I know the line's still underneath there. But, when I get rid of it, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Ooh, look at that nice little curve. Ooh, that came out better than I thought. Ooh, not too bad. Not too bad sometimes. And see, I screwed up the next one. Hey, there you go. There you go. All right. So again, it's been a process because another thing I used to do all the time, and I'll show you, is this. Since I could not turn the camera or the piece, rotate it, I started getting really crazy with the pin tool. And let's see how this it's been a minute since I've even used it. All right, brush. And I used to do stuff like that, and it was more vector. It was very precise, and I would have to go back and I would have to do crazy things like this and use my eraser as an art piece, as a tool, because that's what it really is. It's not just for cleaning up your mistakes, it's a tool. And I would have to go back and do stuff like that and erase things out because I could not get the angle that I wanted because I could not turn the tablet and I couldn't turn the screen. But don't really try to use it as much. I try to force myself to do it by hand because I think it's more natural. And also, we need a little indentation where I would be right here, right, this little part right here. I think it looks better. But I still use the pen tool occasionally for certain things because it is a tool. Even now, I'm considering taking a spear and trying to get that spear better because I might not get it the way I want. See, that's closer. But let's Control Z that. See, like cutting off her eye there just doesn't make any. Yeah, just doesn't look right. So we're gonna erase that out. Try to go back to where we were. Nope, I didn't get it. Ah, there we go. And again, I'll go through this thing about 20,000 times because I'm insane, and I will try to see what I liked about it, and I'll do a lot of cleanup as well, and try to see, does this work, or I might change things. So everything that I'm doing right now may end up changing again. Now, I will say this. I do this kind of stuff when I'm doing my own work. When I'm working for clients, when I'm on a job like I have in the past, it gets done. There is no excuses. There is no playing around, waiting to see how this is going to look, playing around, trying experimentation. It is get the job done. Because that's the difference. I mean, if you're doing this stuff for yourself, I always say, yeah, take your time. Do whatever you got to. Have fun with it. But if you're working, if you're getting paid, you better get the job done. Because that's what you're getting paid to do. So, again, I don't mess around with stuff like that. You paying me money, it gonna get done. Because I got bills. That's interesting. kind of want to bring that in right there, but I didn't like how that looked. Like maybe just a little indication that there's more of a enclosure around your eyeball there. Trying to, like I said, it's been a journey with this one, and trying to I kind of like that. You know, and again, normally too, I have already done all that with this one. I have a lot of reference, and another thing I highly recommend to any artist out there is build you a reference library and realize that you have to have reference. You have to use real life reference, you know, not just drawings from other people or other artists, because all of us as artists, like I was stating earlier, hide our mistakes very well. We also have our own way of doing things that doesn't translate. So, you know, you get people, let's say back in the day when I was a kid, we would draw from comics and we would try to emulate the artists that we saw and or who we liked and everything. And we couldn't realize sometimes when I would draw something, like, why does this look wrong? That's because that wasn't my style. That wasn't my drawing. That's because that artist, that was their gimmick, their way of doing stuff. That that they could hide well with their work, but you wouldn't know that unless you were them, or it's not as prevalent. So when you draw from other artists, like if you trace over something, as it were, because I know some people started out that way. I don't care how you start, as long as you do it yourself. You know, I think they started picking up those other bad habits, and now that artist has maybe grown past that. So that's why I said encouraging you to go out and get your own reference. You know, build I have like a 50 gigabyte digital reference library of everything, and I still don't have everything that I need. You know, that I'll get a client that would want, hey, I need you to draw me a truck. Well, what kind of truck? Well, this little Jeep here and everything. You know how to do that? Sure. I go find a whole bunch of Jeeps, you know, that I didn't have, or this weird off-the-wall piece of technology, or this dress, or like, if you ever want to really challenge yourself, try drawing dresses from the European Victorian era. My old cohort used to hate that. He's like, all these flares and layers, I hate this crap. I don't want to draw this anymore. He did it for a vampire comic book we were working on back in the day. And he said he would never, ever do that again. Never would draw that again. And he never did. Even when somebody tried to pay him, he's like, nope, I ain't doing it. I ain't having it. Okay. Let's do this. Alright. I'm about to go back and look at that. But it is fascinating. Like I said, for me, I've been wanting to do this for years because I was always at home and I would be sitting there working on something, and I never had the time. I would be too tired to record it, or my computer couldn't record stuff very well, and it would just lag out, and I always felt terrible because I was doing all this work and no one ever got to see it, me doing it, until it was done, and it would take a while sometimes, and I always felt like, oh man, people are going to think I'm not doing anything, that I'm just messing around making comedy videos, and which I enjoy doing, or doing, you know, gaming stuff, and you know, and they don't see all the work I do. They don't see all the stuff that I put in. But you know, that was just the way it was, and there was really nothing wrong with it. It just drove me crazy because I didn't want people to think that I was not working. That when I said, hey, I'm doing something, I'm getting stuff done, you know, I wanted them to know I was serious. I'm getting it done, you know. It's one of those things when you do social media too that drives you crazy, because you know, you're just trying so hard to get out there and build a following, you know, a fan base and stuff, and you just, every little mistake, every little thing you do wrong sometimes, or you think you do wrong, drives you crazy, you know? And it's nerve-wracking, that's for sure. And you're like, why are you talking about this? Well, because I like talking about a whole bunch of different things, because I ramble. Plus, like I said, I've been wanting to give people more insight on why I do the things I do. For years, I was very quiet, except about certain things. And in reality, I'm not that type of person. I'm very blunt. I'm not always right, but I'm honest. You know, and that's one of the things I've been told through the years is that, you know, Jeremy, I don't always like the fact how blunt you are, but at least you're honest. So with everything that's been going on in the world, and I meet so many artists doing stuff all the time, and we've had so many conversations, and I just kept saying to myself over and over, I gotta start talking about this stuff. I gotta start saying more than what I'm saying. And if you guys notice, yes, I just used the pen tool. Because I thought I could do it better with that. In a sense, we're going to knock that up to 9 because I think that line was too small. Again, it's a tool. Did I put that line down? Did I make the conscious choice to put that line there? Yes. So I don't feel bad about it. Like I said, you got to get it done. Especially with you. This piece, oh Lord, the woman, you would drive me crazy. But let's see if we can work that out. It's like using, one person told me, they're like, I hate using the pen tool. How do you use it? And I'm like, well, sometimes necessity is the mother of invention. Like, I didn't have a choice. But I also look at it as I used rulers and circle templates and stuff when I was doing everything by hand. When I was inking, when I was painting, I would still use them. And we didn't feel bad about that. So why would you feel bad about using a tool that's available to you? I mean, that's just part of it. I mean, that's what we do. It's just tools. Now, I'm not saying, as you guys know, what we used to call mocapping back in the day. Oh, you know, where you take another artwork, or you take, like I saw a guy once and it drove me crazy. He took a scene, a screenshot from, sorry. He took a screenshot from, did not mean to put that down. Zelda 3, A Link to the Past, right? And he painted over it. And people are all like, oh, it's amazing, and it's just this blah. And I'm like, all you did was splash some colors and some filters on it. It's art. It's pretty cool. But you didn't really use that. Or then I saw him doing something else with it, where a different guy, who took the city from Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner, and put some filters and stuff over it, tried to blur it out a little bit, and painted a couple things and said, oh, I made this. Like, no, you didn't. That's an insult to the artist who did it. You know, if you're using stuff as reference, you know, like fan art is, where you're looking at stuff, and that's fine. But if you're literally going to just copy someone else's work and try to claim it as your own, that's where I have a problem. I mean, you can take that to the door. I mean, we already got AI doing a lot of that for us right now anyway, so please don't add to that. AI does not need your help. Huh, okay. So we got the tier. I'm just curious. I'm going to put this on another layer so I don't mess up my line work. And I'm just going to go ahead and fill this in with some black. Some heavy black to try to see how that's going to look filled in. Let's see. Oop, yeah, that's too much. Alright, now we're going to zoom out a little bit. Huh. You know what? I think that's fine. I don't think that's bad. So that might actually work. I can always kind of erase it down a little bit if I need to and play around with it. All right, I'm gonna merge that. All right, that was the other line. So let's find that headlines and let's see where we're at. Okay, so this is still a little wonky now that I got rid of the other stuff, so I'm not sure how I feel about that. There's a lot of weight too right here. Should be more weight under here like that, but not so much on that. So I'll have to thin that out. Plus now, see, this is what happens when you start getting rid of all your sketch lines. Maybe add a little bit more weight on that side. So let's see if we can thin some of that out. You don't want to put too many lines around her eyes and stuff because then she starts looking old. So, like I said, this piece has just always been one of my personal banes. Like, I don't know what it is about this piece that drives me crazy. Yeah, like I said, you can see how many times I've gone back over this thing. I mean, it kind of works, but I just feel like this is just too much now that we get some of that out. You don't want to give her like super fat lips. I mean, some women do have that, but not all women do. And usually it's a good general rule of thumb, from what I've always been told, to kind of thin out the top than to try to give it too heaviness, you know. And I still am bad about that because, again, I see the lines. I see those lines in my head. I see where I want to emphasize things, and that's just my own personal thing. I do a lot of dead weight, is what we would call it, where you have a very heavy containment line and very thin lines within, which is not something a lot of people do anymore. It's just something that I am comfortable with doing. But still, again, over the years, I've tried to come out of my shell, try different things, try to branch out, try to expand my horizons as an artist, you know. Oh, God, that hurt my arm. Just doing that. All right, let's see if we can lean into it. And this is another reason why I work digitally. At least when it comes to ink. Paper, not so much when I'm penciling, and even in the computer, because that doesn't bother me as bad. But inking is not something I enjoy doing traditionally. I have done it over the years with a brush. I have done a lot of work with brush, and I just suck at it. I'm not really an inker. I'm more of a, I just add a containment line, like I said, dead weight. There are definitely inkers out there that could put me to shame. And you may be one of those if you're watching this. So, but it's just part of who I am. You know, I just prefer that when it comes to a tool, because I make so many different choices, and I'm such a nut when it comes to how I like to do things. So I like to be able to consciously, you know, go back and change things without screwing up my entire piece. That was one of the things I always loved about doing stuff digitally. Let's see. All right. So it looks like I got some sketch lines still there. I'll go back and mess around with that later. Oh, let me go ahead and get that. That's gonna drive me crazy. Yes, I'm OCD too, so you know, little things drive me crazy. Probably the reason why, you know, I've had a lot of people say too, like, do you ink in vector? Because your stuff is so clean. And I'm like, no, I'm just crazy. Sometimes being crazy helps. Wow, it is really messing up tonight. But, you know, that's the story of my life. Okay. Let's go back to actually rotating the camera. What? What do you mean? What do you mean no? What do you mean no? What do you mean I can't rotate? Yes, I can rotate. I could rotate if I want to. Oh wow, it's not letting me rotate. Why are you not letting me rotate? Open GL enabled document windows. Say what? I think you're confused. I think you got some issues. Let's try that again. Let's just rotate. No. Why are you not letting me rotate? That's weird. I'm not sure what's going on there, chat. Maybe if I turn that back on? Huh. That is very unusual. Wow. Okay. I'm not sure what this error is, so I guess I will have to do it the hard way until I can figure that out, because I don't want to keep on interrupting the process here, because that's what you guys came here to see. So let's do this. Goodness gracious, this thing. I'm going to use the pen tool to try and work that out. Like I said, the Wacom is not happy about when it gets so high up for some reason. So I'm going to try to see what we can do. I didn't like her cheat being out that far originally anyway. That was all done by hand. So let's see if we can bring that in a titch. And not make her jawline so wide. Let's bring her up here. Alright. That seems a little bit more natural. Still might have gone, let's see, head. I mean, she's got the forehead, so it would go back, but let's just go ahead and put that down and see how that looks. We're going to go up to, let's try 10, a size 10 brush, because we want that to be a little bit thicker. Can I get rid of the face lines for a second? Oh, which one is the other? Alright, so I got so many layers here. Ah, there we go. Okay, so no, that doesn't seem right. I don't like it. I mean, it seems somewhat right, but then again, it's like she's got this really big square chin. That doesn't make any sense. So we're not going to use that. Let's go ahead and get rid of that, and let's get that out of the way. Alright, so we are actually going to redraw this thing. We'll keep somewhat of that line there. What's it, this one? Like I said, too many blade layers. Alright, and it's also a very strange angle is where her face is, so which is probably the foreshortening is probably throwing me off a little bit too. But alright, let's switch to the pencil brushes. Get off the ink brush for a second. We're going to use this one, the borrowed pencil. And we're going to see if we can fix that. So let's go get a little messy. See, yeah. Oh, I'm drawing straight on that one. Should have made a new layer. Ah! Oh, let's fix that real quick, shall we? All right, let's do another layer. Sometimes I forget. All right. So this is going to be the side of her head. We know that. Ear will be somewhere right about here. So that jawline actually comes down here. So depending, so let's get her head right first off. Hey, there we go. We're starting to get it together. All have a longer chin, but I don't want it to be that long. Erase. Draw with the eraser. There we go. She's got a round chin. She doesn't need all that. Yeah, right? Just 2 chisels. She's not Superman. She don't have the superhero square chin. So, alright. Ugh. Still looks wonky though. Still, I don't know if it's because of the eyes or still looks really wonky. I don't know. Let's go further out right here. Oh, I hate this thing. Let's go back. Not sure. See there, I have the head. Her head's bigger. That looks wrong. So using that one as a guide, their hair being that short. Ugh, hurts my soul. Yeah, see, I made her head way too big. It's like I got the back of it, like you can see where I made it wider in the back than what it should have been. So, losing my basic construction. Make sure this is lined. Yeah, I'm kind of just drawing in the mannequin, as it were. You know, the placement mannequin. Huh. Still a little higher. So this still is kinda works here. This is okay, but it's still kind of in a weird placement to me. So I need to render this out and get this down. It's probably what drives me crazy about this piece is that there's been so many mistakes and going back and messing with it for so long, off and on. It's probably what, you know, another thing that drives me crazy. Let's see. We're gonna change the contrast on that real quick. Colorize it. Alright, let's make it more identifiable. So, that's yellow. Kind of yellow-green, but it's a start. And let's build upon that. Wish I could rotate. Not sure why it won't let me rotate anymore. Also trying to keep an eye on the time here. It's like I want to make her have this chin, but she really doesn't need that chin. Interesting. Getting closer. Get rid of that. Yeah, see, all that was wrong. I think. At least in theory. Knock down the opacity a little bit. Go back to here, and I hate the fact this thing doesn't want to work with me. All right, I'll switch to light gray, and knock down the opacity a little bit more. And let's get rid of this. Just double checking things. I mean, that is closer for the head shape, but it still feels off to me. I mean, maybe it's the eyes and the nose and everything is too big. Maybe I'll have to go back and try this again. I feel like I just want to redo this head for like the 1,000th time that I've done this. Let's see, because if we'll erase that. Let's go back to the original line art. See, kind of. Oh, all right. Yeah, see, in this one, see, I think it's wrong because if you go back and look at my line art here, when I redid it, it's like her head is not right. I mean, I'm sorry, not right. It's like this is one that my buddy had drawn, trying to show me the angle of the head. Where it would have been a long time ago, and it looks like I've still made the same mistake I did before, where I'm not putting it in the right location. I want her looking down for some reason, and that may not be the right call. Maybe it needs to be further up, because that seems to be in the right location. Let's see. Well, we're gonna try this again. People are like, is he ever gonna get this thing down? Let's throw that down just a little bit. Actually, I don't know if that was Kojima or me. I think that was Kojima that did that. I don't know. It's been years. Let's see. Alright. Go with the wire gray. Let's get off the borrow pencil. Find us a little bit for something more mechanical. Here we go. Alright. So, might have to just redo the whole thing again. And that's part of it too. That's part of the process. And you have to be okay with that sometimes. You have to realize that sometimes what you're doing and you think is wonderful and great, and it, you know, but if your instincts keep telling you, hey, something's wrong, you know, something doesn't feel right, but it's easy to do that. It's easier to talk yourself out of it sometimes, because if you're like me and you're a perfectionist, you know, you finding it's, you know, reasons not to do things sometimes, or you're overthinking it is what I should say. But there's just something about that that doesn't feel right, and I'm not sure what it was, but it just didn't. This face seems a little wider to me. but it feels more natural, does it not, chat? It feels like this is probably the correct way of drawing that face in. And instead of trying to go over something that over and over, sometimes stepping away and coming back at it a different way later on can help. So let's get rid of that. Oops. Wow, how many little sketch marks did I make with that? Yeah, I need a little bit more roundedness back here because we're still missing part of her head. It's definitely a foreshortening issue. And foreshortening is hard. No matter how many years you've been drawing, no matter how many years you've been doing it, it is a hard thing to do. I know guys who've done stuff for years and they're amazing and they still have issues with foreshortening sometimes, or perspective or whatever. Yep, I'm kind of liking this a lot better. Even though I did like the way that face and stuff was looking, which means this will change the whole outfit too. This is parts that will have to go somewhere else. The shirt will have to change a little bit, which, you know, wasn't all there originally anyway. So, interesting. Kind of a wrinkly layered shirt too, so if I remember correctly. And I'll need to go back and look at some reference for the outfit from my actual books and stuff that I have, and to make sure I'm getting this right. But right now I'm just trying to get that placement, just to see if it's placed correctly. You know, like I said, this is a very engrossed foreshortened piece to me. I'm sure somebody else could probably do it a lot faster. Yes, this feels more natural. I think I was just on this weird tangent about this. Now I'm kind of liking this piece a little bit more again. Ah! Ah. Maybe I can get some of that eyebrow stuff I like back in here, where she's like, yeah, I'm gonna destroy them monsters. They're all gonna pay. Taking away my home. Killing my family. I don't know. Don't even remember. Ah. Okay, let's get another layer. And let's see if we can get that hair. I like that crazy spiky hair in there somewhere. Maybe we'll make it even more spiky. You know, just go crazy with it. You know, where she's just rough and tough. I like a lot of spiky hair, punk hair and stuff, which I'll show you guys some of that stuff sometime too, where, well, I could before I go. I could bring some of that stuff up, I guess, so you guys can see some of the other stuff I've done. Yeah, instead of having this whole waving short hair, let's make it, yeah, let's make her punk. Yeah, let's make her this crazy punk here. One little indication there. Oh, I thought I clicked on the layer. Yeah, what do you think, chat? Think that's better? I think it's looking better. And then we'll get to see her ear here finally, instead of it being covered up. Yeah, that's gonna be cool. And we'll bring that up here. All right. Okay, let's get rid of the line art. Yeah, maybe still a bit tiny. Her head right there, the sketch, per se. Again, it may be a foreshortening thing where there's so much emphasis right here on the front. And this is what you are seeing in the foreground, and that's another difficult thing. I may have to increase her just a little bit. I could take the sketch and kind of expand it out. But it's one of those things I'm just going to keep playing with until I'm satisfied with it. Until I'm like, okay, I'm good with this now. I don't know whenever I'm going to get there with this thing. If it's like it's going to take forever. But I will definitely keep showing it and keep processing it. But like I said, I was going to show you guys some other stuff real quick. So you guys can see some of my other artwork. I'll give you one example or a couple examples before I go. I know you guys are like, he's about to dip. Yes, he is about to dip. Give me one moment. I don't know if you guys are seeing all these screens or not. I don't think so. But if you are, you are. You just get to see all my craziness. So I had another one that was kind of like this that I had sketched out that I've been working on. I've been working on this series of yeah, see, she's kind of got the same kind of weird chin and the facial structure and stuff there. So this is a sketch for a piece because I'm doing this series of all types of women, different types of women in different types of genres, different types of outfits, different types of styles, because I think that women in general are walking pieces of art. And I think people are walking pieces of art. That's the beauty of it. That's why we draw so many people too. But this is one of the sketches I did that I need to go back. And again, sometimes I sketch things out and I'm like, okay, I'm okay with it, and I'll come back to it. This was one of my little punk girls that one of the things I was working on. Let me see if I can open it real quick so you guys can see. And this is one I had thought about showing you today, but it's mostly done. I gotta put some artwork right here on this little kind of window security film thing, metal door. And as you can see, I can go crazy with all the little details. All the little details on the bricks, you know, the line work and everything. This is her crazy hair. The cloth, as you can see too, she has a butterfly tattoo here with little designs. The little spike wisp thing, the 80s wrist band, even the rings. I drew all this stuff out and made, you know, stuff like that with the hands. And hands are such a pain. The rips in her jeans, you know, like I said, I go crazy. So that's another reason why things sometimes take me a while, because I'll just keep going and going and going if it's something that I'm just doing. But other than that, I will probably showcase this one too, because I gotta figure out what graffiti or graffiti type art or whatever I want to put down the back, or how grungy I want to make it. I'm not sure yet. That's why it's just kind of sitting there right now. But this is, like I said, this is part of a series that I'm doing, and I'm hoping to have available maybe as a coloring book, or something that you could color yourself, or just as prints one day soon. I'll be curious with you guys who are watching this now and watching it later on your thoughts with everything. As always, you can talk to me here, or you can reach me at talktomelegacy717@gmail.com, or any of the many social media sites that I frequent. I am on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, DeviantArt if you're old school, I guess. Anywhere you want to reach out, give me, you know, if you got thoughts, commission requests, stuff like that, or just curious more about my process, feel free to check that stuff out on YouTube. I have art videos and stuff there. I will be having more of those where I would do stuff here. And like I said, coming on Wednesdays now that we got this whole thing worked out, I'm going to be doing a lot more art on Wednesday nights and stuff, except for special days where I might be doing a game or something. But as always, my friends, thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Oh, you're waiting on me to say something, aren't you? Oh yeah, be good to each other and never stop dreaming. Cheers.